Metro News Midday.
Metro News Midday is presented by Salango Law. SalangoLaw.com. Join in by calling 800-765-8255 or text 304-TALK-304. Let's go live to downtown Charleston. Here's Dave Allen.
And welcome into the 1 o'clock hour on a Thursday afternoon. It's Metro News Midday, powered by Salango Law. Visit SalangoLaw.com. Open line West Virginia on the way at 2:30. It's your chance to weigh in on any subject that you wish. 1-800-765-TALK is the phone number. You can text 304-TALK-304. Brad McElhenney is going to join us next hour. The big political news in the state of West Virginia as Delegate Brandon Steele out of Raleigh County announcing his resignation. We'll talk to Brad about that, plus some other things in the news as well. Hoppy Kirchhoff coming up later this hour, as well as meteorologist Joe Fitzwater. I want to welcome to the show now State Democratic Party Chair and Delegate Mike Pushkin. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. Always good to be here.
Thanks. What's new in your world outside politics? What are you doing? What are you doing with your life?
What's that?
I don't know. I just thought I would ask. I just thought I would be friendly.
My mother, and I'm not going to announce my mother's age on here, but she's a lot older than I am.
Well,
she has a more interesting social life than I do, to be quite honest. I've pretty much been immersed in work lately.
Okay.
And, with candidate recruitment and party building and, trying to improve this state for the lives of our friends and neighbors, trying to help rebuild this Democratic Party and give people choices up and down the ballot.
I've never met
your mother. That is my life.
I'd say your mother is a charming lady.
Well, she put up with me, so she should be, she should be a saint.
Yeah, indeed. I can't imagine that a young Mike Pushkin. I don't know. Maybe you were. Were you a good kid growing up, Mike?
I was the type of kid where I would be good at home, but not so much outside of the home, not at school.
That is exactly the way I was.
Yeah, I was. I didn't have I was nice to my parents and my family and everybody that I loved and everything.
And then parent-teacher conference came.
I had a problem with authority figures.
Imagine that. Yeah, I got, and you and I are the same age, so I don't know whether they did it where you grew up, but they were still paddling when I was in school, and I was paddled on more than one occasion.
I was, we were given the choice a lot of times back then, like, would you rather have, the paddle or detention or suspension? We always took the paddle.
Yeah.
Get it over with.
Well, especially when you got, like, the older teachers that didn't quite have the grip,
But we had a couple that did.
Well, one of the hardest paddlings I ever got was from a music teacher one time, and it was not pleasant. Younger people, if they're listening to this, going, "What? What they allowed this sort of thing?" Hey, I want to several things. I want to talk to you about candidate recruitment. We'll talk about the president's speech last night. You guys the State Democratic Party just put out a statement a couple of hours ago about that. But I want to talk about cannabis a little bit. There has been some things in the news that the president may want to reschedule certain like cannabis and things like that, take it off the list where it's there with heroin and fentanyl, and there's some people in the GOP that aren't necessarily happy about this.
I saw that. The president came out, I think earlier this week, maybe it was last week. He said he wanted to extend this. It was actually a Biden era order to reschedule cannabis, which is currently scheduled as a Schedule 1 non-narcotic. But Schedule 1 means absolutely no medicinal value. And we all know that that's wrong. So you're going to hear me, the rare instance when I'm going to agree with at least the president in theory on this, although I think it should be descheduled and just treated like alcohol. Keep it out of the hands of minors and regulate it and tax it and let grown-ups make decisions for themselves. That's where that's where a lot of states have gone. You've not seen any of those states that have done that go back, and you haven't seen the sky hasn't fallen, the sun keeps coming up in those states, and everything has. And here in West Virginia, we have a medical cannabis program. I was one of the ones behind forcing that vote to the floor of the House. I mean, at the time, the House was not going to take that bill up. It got through the Senate. Thanks to your friend and mine, Richard Ojeda, forced it through the Senate. We got it over to the House, and we forced a vote with the Democrats teaming up with some Libertarian Republicans, and we got a vote on it. And now West Virginia, after years, it took a long time to fix it because we had to fix the banking issue, thanks to Mike Stewart, who's now, ironically, working with RFK Jr., who is a proponent of cannabis. So it's a strange world. Anyway, so we forced a vote on. We now have a medical cannabis program, and I believe that program has helped a lot of people. So you can't say that it doesn't have a medicinal value, no matter how you feel about it. So it is wrongly scheduled. It was done during the Nixon era. They scheduled it as Schedule 1. I believe President Trump has talked about scheduling it as a Schedule 3 non-narcotic. My opinion is it shouldn't be scheduled at all. It should just be treated like alcohol and regulated and kept out of the hands of minors. However, there was a letter that went out today, I believe, signed by like 22 Senate Republicans, which is a majority of their caucus, opposing that, saying that they opposed the president. They finally opposed the president on something. Of course, it's not taking away people's health care. They're opposing him on something that he should be doing, which is rescheduling cannabis. And right at the top of that letter was our senior senator, Shelley Moore Capito, which I think she's really out of step on this and out of touch with most West Virginians on this, or with most Americans on this. So she was right at the top of the letter opposing this.
Well, and and Mike, this has been an argument for some time about cannabis and the economic aspect of it. Is people that are smarter than you and I are have said West Virginia could be sitting on a gold mine here. Then there are the other side that will say, well, it's a gateway drug and so on and so forth. I will say this: I am not a user. I have in the past, but it's just not really my thing. But I will say this: if you talk to any law enforcement officer and you ask them if they had to choose, do you want to deal with somebody who's been using pot or somebody that's drunk? They're going to take I don't want to say pothead. They're going to take the person using the marijuana every time.
And I could tell you the same as a former, longtime night shift cab driver. You would rather have your passenger like that than leaving the bar and 3 sheets to the wind on alcohol.
Wanting to fight somebody.
Tend to get a little bit more aggressive. I simply think that we should allow adults to make these decisions for themselves. And if you want to talk about a gateway drug, I think you got to go back to the tons of pharmaceutical pain medication that was dumped on this state. That was the gateway drug. Mm-hmm. So there's no real evidence about that whole theory. I just think, look, if you look at what other states have done, they have moved towards this. They're seeing revenue from it. It is also makes it, it's regulated and inspected, so it's not going to be laced with something. It makes it safer. And, when it's illegal, people aren't checking IDs, right? Yeah. If it's legal and regulated, to go into a dispensary in one of these states, you have to have ID. So they're not selling it to minors. It keeps it. You're more likely to keep it out of the hands of kids when it's regulated, like alcohol.
And if you are driving while under the influence of this, in my opinion, you would be subject. If everything goes through, you'd be subject to the same things. If you've drank 6 or 8 beers and going through a bar,
it's treat it like alcohol.
Exactly. I don't normally read text until Open Line West Virginia, but this was a specific question for you, and it has to do with this. It said, what would it take to get homegrown legalized for medical cannabis patients? Homegrown.
Well, I've introduced that bill year after year. I don't think the current legislature is going to take it up to allow for patients who have one of the qualifying conditions, they qualify for a medical cannabis card, to let them grow a small amount for themselves to save them money. I support that. Obviously, I've introduced it, but I don't think you're going to see the current Republican supermajority take that up. And I think the leader of their party here in this state, Shelley Moore Capito, put her name on a letter opposing Donald Trump in his effort to reschedule cannabis. So that they're far off on it. Speaking of the president, last night, Mike, he gave a speech a lot shorter than what most people thought. Somebody texted the show yesterday and said that he'd probably still be talking when I came back on the air at noon. It wasn't a 90-minute speech. I think it was like 18 minutes or something like that. 18 minutes of less than factual information, right. And I'm sure it took a lot more time for people to fact-check that speech than it did for him to actually give the speech. It came off to me as very angry. He was angrily reading into a teleprompter. And just telling people that not to believe their own eyes. I mean, it's very easy to fact check the president on many of these things when he says that gas is in many states is less than $2, $1.99. Well, you can fact check and go get some gas, or you can fact check and you can go to the grocery store and see that inflation is still an issue. Or you can fact when he says that he's dealt with the pharmaceutical companies and is going to get his words 600% reduction, saving. That means people would be paid to take their meds. So if you go to the pharmacy and they're not writing, if they're not writing you checks at the pharmacy, well, you just fact check the president. He said a lot of things last night, and very few of them were true.
I'm just kind of perusing your statement that went out earlier today. And again, we're talking with State Democratic Party Chair Mike Pushkin. It says Trump also painted a rosy picture of the economy while ignoring basic facts. Unemployment is higher now than when he took office in January, higher than at any point in the last 5 years. Doubled down on the false claim. You mentioned gas prices. This is a quote from you. The only jobs Donald Trump has actually created are for fact checkers. That's a pretty good line.
I did say that.
Yeah, you did.
Thank you.
You did. You call the president detached from reality.
Yeah, to come out there and tell people not to believe what they're seeing at the grocery store, not to believe what they're seeing at the gas station, not to believe what they see at the pharmacy, or when some 60,000 West Virginians are about to see their premiums go up. Yeah, he's detached from reality and the reality of our day-to-day lives. Not addressing health care with me is the biggest issue. They refuse to extend the ACA subsidies, but haven't come up with anything else. So to me, during his first term, we were constantly 2 weeks away from a health care plan. He never came. And I think recently when he was running this time in the debate, where he said he had a concept of a plan. Mm-hmm. We don't even have a concept of a plan. And many Americans and a disproportionate amount of West Virginians are going to see their premiums just double or triple. I mean, I've heard from many constituents now who are paying around $400 a month under the subsidies, who are going to see their premiums go up to over $2,000 a month. Nobody can afford that. So they are going to choose not to be insured, mm-hmm. which is going to cause everybody's insurance to go up.
Yeah, I mean, and that's because you're exactly right about that. And we've had text to the program, Mike, when people have said that same thing. Look, I'm relatively young, not me, but other people have said it, relatively young, and I'm just going to take a chance.
And who does that leave in the pool?
That's what I was going to say. And what happens is that person does get sick, they're in an accident or whatever, and they can't. The hospital cannot by law turn you away if it's an emergency type situation. So you get hauled in there and somebody's eventually going to pay for that.
Yeah, somebody has to pay for it. And also when and a lot of people are going to do this, and I don't blame them. If you go from $400 a month to over $2,000 a month, I don't know anybody who can afford that. Now, maybe people who hang out down at Mar-a-Lago or hang out at the Greenbrier, maybe they can afford it, but those aren't the kind of people that you and I hang out with. People we know can't afford that, so they're going to choose to go without. But the people who are going to stay in are the people who are older, or mm-hmm. people who do have pre-existing conditions, which is going to cause premiums to go up for everybody. It's a really bad deal. They need to address it. I think it's really telling that you had 4 Republicans sign a discharge petition for them to at least have an up and down vote on the subsidies. That's twice in a short period of time you've had discharge petitions. Once on the Epstein files, now one on health care. That is a real break in the ranks there in over on Team Trump.
Talking to State Democratic Party Chair Mike Pushkin. Can you hang out with me just 1 second to get a couple more questions?
I want to ask
you. No, you wouldn't be honored. You're just going to do it anyway. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back after this.
There's nothing quite like a homemade meal from Tudor's Biscuit World. We use real buttermilk to craft our delicious biscuits, one batch at a time, and serve them with our signature platters. Here, you will taste the freshness in every bite, from our classic breakfast sandwiches to favorites like our breakfast wraps. Every meal brings a taste of simpler times. Let Tudor's do the cooking for your gathering this holiday season. Visit TudorsCatering.com for all your catering needs.
The holidays bring the warmth of home and family. But what if something feels different this year? A messy house, missed medications, or expired food could be signs your loved one needs extra support. You don't have to navigate it alone. Bridging Resources West Virginia is your single entry point for help connecting with care and support services. Visit br-wv.org to learn how we can help your family this holiday season.
We'll be right back. This is Metro News Midday. Metro News, the voice of West Virginia.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
Nathan has taught me to embrace the moment. Age-wise, I'm in my late 60s. I'm old enough to be his grandfather. Will he be embarrassed to acknowledge me as his dad? I think the most important thing we can do is let them know that they're safe, that they're valued and cared for and loved, and that they're important.
I knew I wanted to be adopted by him because of how he taught me to be the person who I am today. And it's coming from a dad that didn't expect to become a dad. And I feel very proud to be his son.
That was what he needed, and he was what I needed. Every day is full of new opportunities. That's what it's been about, realizing the simple things that it takes to make such a huge difference in these kids' lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
To the big-hearted, the bold, the teachers, the growers, the builders, the change makers, we need you. We are the Peace Corps. In more than 60 countries, we go the distance to make a difference. We're volunteers, partners, communities, bringing our experience, joy, and passion to building a better world together. Are you looking for more? Then we are looking for you. Join us at peacecorps.gov.
West Virginia Outdoors is the Mountain State's only hook and bullet radio show, dedicated to the more than 250,000 hunters and anglers across the state. Award-winning host Chris Lawrence has been tracking down hunting and fishing stories for more than 25 years.
They winter out there, they spend the summers out there, and for 2 magical months, these smallmouth just flock into this bay. When they come, they come. I mean, you've got a lake the size of close to West Virginia, if not the size of West Virginia, that's just full of smallmouth.
Whether it's hunting and fishing news, or just compelling stories about the enjoyment of the great outdoors.
I've been wanting to see him this year, but I hadn't until we were coon hunting one night and we saw him, and he was still in velvet. I knew that he was the biggest buck around here, and I had wanted to kill him ever since then.
West Virginia Outdoors covers it all, Saturday mornings at 7:06 a.m. And for your daily fix, Outdoors Today brings you 2.5 minutes of news and notes from the woods and water every weekday morning on Metro News, the voice of West Virginia.
I'm Scarlett Johansson. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. You can join the movement to end hunger by donating, volunteering, and advocating. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Being blind doesn't always look how others may think.
Retinitis pigmentosa aimed to overwhelm my family.
It tried to cut me down. I know where to find support and where I can be seen.
Innovative research, educational resources, supportive community. The Foundation Fighting Blindness is leading the charge in finding treatments and cures for blinding diseases. Learn more at fightingblindness.org. A public service message from the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
Welcome back to the show. 125 State Democratic Party Chair Mike Pushkin is here. I want to talk about candidate recruitment here in a couple moments, but we did have one. Again, I'm breaking my own rules by not reading text.
I like taking text.
But this is one. This is one of the. It says marijuana is disgusting, has no place in a public setting.
I would say don't smoke it. I don't. I mean, yeah, it's a choice. I choose not to, and I would recommend that everybody choose not to. But I think that adults should have a choice, and it should just be treated like alcohol. And then you'll keep it out of the hands of kids.
All right,
and you'll get a little bit of tax revenue as well. And keep it safer. And put drug dealers out of work.
Mike Pushkin wants to put people out of work. I'm kidding.
Drug dealers.
Put that caveat under drug dealers. All right, so
not fact checkers.
I mentioned to Jeff Jenkins earlier, but in the last 3 days on my local show in Charleston, I've interviewed 3 different people filing to run for office. 2 were Democrats, 1 was announcing that they were running for office, 2 for state senate, 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, and 1 for House of Delegates. This is a time when people are starting to, get their ducks in a row right before Christmas filing period. Will be starting here pretty soon. How's the state Democratic Party doing as far as lining up candidates for some of these races?
We're doing well, and that's what I spend most of my days making phone calls and talking to county executive committees and reaching out to different areas and talking to prospective candidates. And I would recommend anybody out there that wants to run as a Democrat, this is a good year to do it. all of the writing's been on the walls that every special election we've had since last year has gone in the Democrats' way. Whether it's most recently, the Democrats elected the first Democratic mayor of Miami in, I believe, over 30 years. We won statewide elections in Georgia. First time in a very long time in electing
your candidate in Tennessee actually
she
did pretty well.
A lot better than should have in a district that was so overwhelmingly for Trump. But even in Virginia, every single county was at least trending Democratic. So if you ever thought about running for office and you want to run as a Democrat, now is the time to do it. And you can contact us or get all the information that you need if you go to WVDemocrats.com/run. I repeat, WVDemocrats.com/run.
So what would you
contact us? We'll get you on the ballot and give voters choices.
What would you say to somebody, though, that maybe is a registered Democrat that is interested in running and think, I'd really like to do this, but I just think the odds are stacked against us in West Virginia because it's such a strongly Republican state, such a strongly pro-Trump state. What would you say to that person that may be on the fence about running for office?
I would say that in the state of Virginia, I know this because I know people that work with the Virginia Democratic Party. They were expecting to win 5 or 6 seats, and they won 13. This is the year. If you're thinking about doing it, now's the time to take the plunge.
What are you going to do?
I'll be back in a few weeks, and I'll let you know for sure. I'm weighing my options at this time.
You've been a sitting member for the House of Delegates for how long?
Since 2014, and in that time, I've been able to get a lot of things done. I mentioned medical cannabis that was behind that. Also, the thing I'm most proud of is working to help create the Jobs and Hope program, which I think is the single greatest accomplishment the state government has had in many years. As we helped create the Jobs and Hope program and also included an incentive of expungement for certain nonviolent offenses, and that has put a lot of West Virginians back to work. So I'm very proud of that. So I'm proud of the work that we've done in the House. So that's I'm considering that.
You're considering running for re-election, but you haven't made up your mind yet.
Oh, I'll be back in a few weeks. And we'll talk about that.
We'll let you get through the Hanukkah season. How's that?
Yeah.
How's that?
Speaking of which, I'll be on your morning show next week, right?
Yeah, we do a show here in Charleston called the Jewish Christmas Spectacular. Pushkin and I put this thing together a couple of years ago.
I take it I'm the Jewish part of it.
You would be the Jewish part of it, yes. And so he basically comes in, and I tell him, leave your politics at the door and bring your guitar in. We're going to sit down with the Amos Steel Band. We got some other musical guests who are going to come in, knock out some Christmas tunes, and just have a good time. That's so right. You can listen to it, any around the state. Just go to download the WCHS Network app, and it's from 9 to 10. It'll be Christmas Eve morning. Looking forward to it, Mike. All right, buddy. Mike Pushkin, State Democrat.